Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Putri Zhafira Zahra. In this video, I want to complete my midterm project from the classroom management course. So please pay attention. Communicating with students. Table of content. There is 4 material we're gonna discuss in this presentation. First, before we talk about communicating with students, we must know what is communication. So, communication is the driving force in any relationship or situation. Although we exist during a time when communication is the lifeline for society, it has also become one of our most disturbing yet intimate forms connecting. We communicate on a continuous basis at home, work, and school. If we survey individuals to determine where the most important communication took place, each person would have a different answer and each answer will be correct. So it is vitally important to know when communication should take a place, where it should take a place, and why one should communicate. When a child reaches school age, a whole new world of communication is opened to him. He learns that there are different languages, cross-cultural communication, and gender differences in communicating. He learns that these differences also exist in non-verbal communication. He learns how to express himself and how to accept the expression of others. So, first is classroom management. According Everson and Watson 2006, classroom management styles are observed based on teachers' action. So, proper management style is essential to create a supportive environment in the teaching and learning process, topped up with a considerable amount of effort in effective classroom management to engage students in learning. Communication skill. Effective communication skill and strategies hold the essence of quality classroom management, and it would virtually provide us through all aspects of school life. However, this does not mean that it will provide the conclusive answer to the problems encountered by the educational administrator. So, communication involves the sharing of information, ideas, and attitudes in a way that produce a degree of understanding between two or more people as informed by Lewis in 1978 and 1983. Communication is a relational process during which messages are transmitted using symbols, signs, and contextual cues to express meanings while having the receiver construct similar understanding which subsequently influence behavior. So essentially, it is undeniable that the success of classroom activities and students' learning are influenced by classroom management and communication skill. The second is verbal and nonverbal interaction. According to Salinen Kuparinen in 1992, a teacher's communicator style as defined by Norton in 1978 is how a teacher verbally and nonverbally interacts to signal how literal meaning should be taken, interpreted, filtered, or understood. So there are two forms of communication. There are verbal and non-verbal. So when communication is done with words, it's considered as a verbal. When communication is done without words, it's considered as non-verbal. This form of communication may include facial expression, touching, body movement, dress, posture, and even spatial distance. Although verbal and nonverbal communication are independent, nonverbal behavior are used to support or modify verbal behavior. Knopf in 1972 lists the following 6 ways in which verbal and nonverbal behavior interact. So 1. Repeating. Repeating is nonverbal behavior sometimes repeats what was said verbally. Example, go outside, then point to the door. 2 is contradicting. Contradicting is nonverbal behavior sometimes contradict what was said. Example, student tell that he's not nervous, but actually is trembling and timid. 3. Substituting. Substituting is nonverbal, can be used in place verbal. Example, a stare into your lover's eyes, substitute for the words I love you. 4 is complimenting. Complimenting is nonverbal, can elaborate or modify verbal. Example, a student may show nervous tension when taking a test, but relaxes as he gets closer to the end of the test. 5 is accenting. Accenting is nonverbal, my accent verbal. Example, the use of hand and head to emphasize what's being said. And the last but not least, regulating. Regulating is nonverbal behavior, regulate the flow of verbal conversation. Example, eye contact and head nod may signal who is or is not paying attention. So, nonverbal communication is a part of the total communication process. There is almost always emotional communication in the nonverbal form. Nonverbal communication is used when one does not know what word or words to use. It is used to send a powerful signal. It is used when honesty counts. It is used to express feeling of distress. And it is used when the message is of a complex nature. So, according to Miller in 1988, more feelings and intention are sent and received using nonverbal communication rather than verbal communication. Miller suggests 77% are verbal as opposite to 93% nonverbal. Okay. Some of the components of nonverbal communication that are helpful in the classroom are 1. Personal space. Children are taught the concept of personal space at an early age, which helps to avoid conflict. The second is facial expression. Muscle movements that change the expression on the face register different expression. The old cliché, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Explaining the meaning of facial expression, students learn quickly what certain looks mean. 3 is touching. Touching has been attacked and described as immoral. Young children are being taught to distinguish a good touch from a bad touch. This has made touching an even greater component of nonverbal communication. A handshake is considered detrimental to the young child. Teacher touch to display a caring emotion. The meaning of a touch depends on the situation. As a child grows older, touching becomes less important. The last but not least, body movement. This movement cannot be masked. They send a true message. How one walks, stands, and even how he sits send a message. Gesture and other body movement can be misunderstood, but are comprehended quicker than speech. So, movement in visual and can be seen quicker than the spoken word can be heard. Standard English is positively universal. However, there are no universal body gestures. Two students slumping can mean two different things. The third is communication enhancer for the classroom. So communication requires a two-path. There are a path to a giver and a path to receiver. Communication can only be effective when the message is transmitted and received. Sending and receiving message effectively depend on a number of contributors. In my opinion, the mode used to send a message and the recipient of a message have the most important part in making sure the communication is effective. So it is vitally important that the classroom present itself as a medium for transmitting messages. In suggesting the classroom as the ultimate environment, Miller in 1988 offers 4 guidelines to achieving effective communication. 1. The classroom should provide a variety of stimuli. The first step of learning includes motivation. Stimuli provides the spark of interest, which gives the teacher an opportunity to instruct effectively. 2. The classroom should provide a secure, comfortable feeling. It is not surprised that little or not learning will take place if a child does not feel safe and secure. Safety is one of the 5 levels on the hierarchy of needs. Third is the classroom should be adapted to fit the activity. So Dr. Denby in 1991 said that children must see themselves in books. Children have vivid imagination. Much of their memory is based on what they say and do. This classroom provides a place of action to remember the occurrence. 4. The classroom should give some privacy and individuality. The classroom ultimately allows a child to be a child. Next. The last part 2, solving all the problems. So first problem. Mr. Eleazar repeatedly had problems when leading a class discussion with his junior high school students. No matter how involved in the topic the students were, there were usually several students sitting in the back who talked, shouted out silly answers, and played with objects they had brought from home. So in this case, teacher can use analyzing classroom organization material and teaching students to listen to you material. So analyzing classroom organization, it appears that Mr. Eleasor's classroom is not well organized, especially when it comes to seating plans and standards for behavior. The disruptive behavior of the children seated in the back of the room suggests that there are unclear rules and unorganized classroom. One place to start would be by examining the classroom's physical design and changing the seat to reduce distraction. So a more ordered classroom atmosphere can also be achieved by clearly defining expectations for behavior, assigning consequences for those expectations, and regularly enforcing those expectations. The second is teaching students to listen to you. In Mr. Eleazar's class, addressing the problem of student talking, yelling out stupid responses, and fiddling with objects during class discussion can be accomplished by teaching students active listening techniques, incorporating think, pair, share, exercise, or reciprocal teaching, which involve active listening, can motivate students to participate actively in class discussion and pay attention. The value of listening to the teacher and adhering to classroom rules can also be emphasized by setting an example of attentive listening behavior and rewarding active involvement. The second problem. Zefano was one of the most provocative and disruptive students Miss Giandra had ever taught. Throughout class, he continuously talked to girls and teased students sitting near him. He made inappropriate and sarcastic remarks in response to almost anything Miss Giandra said. When confronted by her, Zefano grinned charmingly and responded with exaggerated courtesy, to the delight of this other student. So, solution of the problem. In this case, teacher can use causes of classroom conflict material and communicating with student material. So, causes of classroom conflict is Zefano's disruptive behavior is primary cause of classroom conflict in Miss Giandra class. His repeatedly talking, teasing, and offensive comment cause conflict and distraction, which disrupt the peace of the classroom. It's important to understand, though, that Zefano's action might be the result of deeper problems like attention disorder or a lack of interest in the subject matter. So, for conflict in this classroom to be effectively addressed and minimized, it is imperative to comprehend this underlying reason. And for communicating with students, managing disruptive students such as Zefano and preserving a supportive learning atmosphere require effective communication. So Zefano should have private conversation with Miss Giandra in order to discuss her worries regarding his behavior, as well as to gain insight into his viewpoint and any underlying problem he could be dealing with. So while demonstrating support and empathy for the learner, boundaries can be established with the aid of firm yet compassionate communication strategies. And the last problem is Miss Yehezkiela was concerned about the frequent teasing that had begun in her class. It reached the point where there was constant bickering among the students. They became so angry and began yelling, shouting, and shoving one another during class. For the solution of this problem, in this case, teacher can use teaching students to cooperate material. It is crucial to educate student cooperation and conflict resolution techniques in order to address the ongoing bickering and disagreement in Ms. Yehezkiela's class. Cooperative learning active can help students develop a sense of collaboration and decrease conflict between individuals by requiring them to work together towards common goals. So furthermore, giving students clear guidance on empathy, problem-solving methods, and communication skills can enable them to resolve problems peacefully and politely. So this is the bibliography of this presentation. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.